Four Midwest Guys presents Solo, a Star Wars story teaser trailer review.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Four Midwest Guys. Today we'll be doing our Solo movie review, and here with me always is Mr. Brian Eckenbauer.
Hey, what's up, what's up?
How's it going, B?
Going good, man.
As always, I'm your host, B. Willie. So in typical review fashion, we always do a small non-spoiler section first, and then we'll go into a very detailed spoiler section on this movie. So with that in mind, let's get right into the non-spoilers. So Brian, what did you think about the story overall, on a scale of the old 1 to 10?
I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
It was very entertaining, and like we said, you know, when we went and seen it, the whole theater stood up and clapped at the end.
Yeah,
it's not bad when like an entire audience.
Yeah, even if they are Star Wars fans, I mean that's big.
Yeah, so I would probably give it like an 8 on story wise.
Yeah, I also give it an 8 as well. It has some problems, has some issues. Drags a little bit, probably towards the end of the movie a little bit, but it's okay to me because there's some real good payoffs in there as well. So, but yeah, an overall solid 8. Let's move on to performances. What'd you think? Let's start with the big one. What'd you think of Alden as Harrison, I guess, in a non-spoiler?
As non-spoiler.
As well as the other performances as well.
As Han Solo, I would probably give him 8 or 9.
Okay.
As Harrison,
it's a 3 maybe.
Oh, if that.
Yeah.
Like he had some of the mannerisms down, sounded nothing like him. But he did take the part much like Chris Pine took Captain Kirk and made it his own. Alden took this and made it his own, and I enjoyed the entire movie.
Yeah, I've even heard the comparisons. It's kind of like James Bond. Like, you will always remember that Sean Connery is the original James Bond, and then there were others that came along and took the role and made it their own. And that's how I looked at it, because he made the role his own, but he's not doing any real Han and Harrison Ford impersonations of Han Solo.
And that's what I was happy about. I was happy there was no impersonations. There was no there was a couple of things where he had the smile down or whatever, but there was no imitation. Like there was that one video file of the one kid that looks and sounds just like Harrison Ford.
Yeah, and I was I was really.
But I wouldn't want to watch a whole show of him
just impersonating,
trying to be Harrison Ford.
Yeah,
because then you'd have been like, well, that was just a waste of my time,
Right, it would have waited.
But I really like. I would say performances for at least for him, Chewie same as normal.
Right, Chewie's Chewie.
Yeah, Qi'ra.
I really liked her character. I really did.
Yeah, she did really good in that role. I don't think there was really any bad,
other than L3.
Any bad performances. I'm not even going to count that one. That was awful.
Other than that, that's the only exception.
L337 is Solo's Jar Jar Binks, in my opinion.
Wow, laying down the gauntlet.
Oh yeah,
there, big time. So yeah, I'll agree with all that. I would give Alden. I'd give him a solid 8 on being Han Solo, definitely. And I agree with just about everything he said. I thought that Qi'ra. I can't remember her name now. Wow, that's horrible. Mother of Dragons.
Emily Clark.
Emily Clark, thank you.
Is that right?
Yeah. I thought her performance as Qi'ra was spot on. I thought she was a really strong character. Donald Glover pretty much steals the show as Lando, for the most part. So yeah, it was really good performances. Let's move into dramatic effect. It's a fun movie. It's intense at times. But as far as being like a drama, an overbearing drama or anything, definitely not that. So I would probably give it a 5 on the dramatic scale of things. You're rooting for them, but you're not I don't know, you don't feel like they're in incredible peril all the time.
Right.
And it's not like Last Jedi where it's just overbearingly heavy either. So
yeah, I would give the dramatic effect probably like a 3.
Yeah.
I don't, because you don't really feel vested in any of the relationships that happen. And I mean, we'll get into that later, but you don't really feel vested in some of the characters and some of the stuff that they go through. So you're not, though you are rooting for them, you're not really torn one way or the other. If something happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Right, exactly. Couldn't agree with you more on that. Let's move into the special effects. I love the special effects. It's a Star Wars movie. It's up to par. The Kessel Run special effects are, well, I guess that's a spoiler. But
it's not really. We've seen it in the trailer.
Yeah, so it's incredible. Really well done. The way they go with the Falcon, I won't give anything away. That's really well done too. Overall, so to me, I give it a 9.5. I mean, for special effects, it's nothing groundbreaking. So maybe I should take it down to a 9. But it is typical Star Wars special effects. What do you think, B?
Oh yeah, it definitely falls right in line with the Star Wars universe. You feel like you're on the different planets. The characters all seem real. Like even when you see them interacting, like nothing seems fake or too over the top. That it's like unbelievable.
Right.
Except for there's one character.
Well, yeah, we'll get to her.
There's one character in the beginning that just doesn't seem like it fits, but everything else, I mean, it's just one of those. It's a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, it's a fun Star Wars movie,
and it takes you to other places, and you feel like you're there.
Yeah, go to other worlds, have a great time. Action. This is pretty heavy on the action. Like I said, it slows down a little bit at the end, but I would give it a solid 8 on action. What do you think, Brian?
Oh yeah, I would definitely give it a 7.5 or 8. There are a few spots that are kind of they're meant to be like for the drama part. There's
right.
so they're those are spread out through the movie, and it gets a little slow. Then it gets back fast, and it gets back slow. But it's kind of choppy a little bit. But for the most part, this is a heist movie, and it's action all the way from start to finish.
Start to finish, yeah. They don't take too many breaks, and when they do, it's small, and their biggest break really is at the end. And I don't think I'm really giving away too much by saying that. Let's move into directing. So obviously Solo went through a directing change in the middle of production. They brought Ron Howard in. I couldn't tell the difference between what was shot between Ron Howard and what was shot by Lord Miller.
I could.
Lord Miller. So to me, I thought it was a great job. I think Ron Howard probably took something that was not that great and turned it into a really good, solid Star Wars movie. So I would give, on Ron Howard's end of things, I'm going to give him a solid 9 just for what he had to do in the short amount of time he had to do it in. What'd you think, B?
Oh yeah, I would definitely give it a 9. Like you said, Ron Howard taking over for
Lord Miller.
Lord Miller. It's very noticeable, and it feels like 80% or better of this movie was reshot. Mm-hmm. Because you can definitely see in the first 10 minutes, it's real jumpy, it's real dark, and that's where some of my issues fall, is in the first 10 minutes. And everything after that in the movie all feels like there's a totally different color change in the movie, like it's brighter the whole rest of the movie, regardless if they're shooting at night or whatever. It just feels crisper and like it's been directed better, and that's why I think there's a clear line right where it was done originally with Lord Miller, and then
you can see
where Ron Howard took over and
the lighting
reshot a whole bunch of this stuff. I mean, what Ron Howard reshot with Vision, what's his name?
Dryden Voss.
Dryden Voss, but what is his?
The actor's name escapes me at the moment. It always does. I can never remember his name either.
But anyway, he's the guy that played Vision in Avengers, and he also plays one of the crime bosses, Dryden Voss. And that was all reshot.
Yeah, because he was supposed to be a CGI character.
Yeah, it was going to be a CGI character under the other leadership, some kind of cat creature, but I don't think that would have worked. I
think it probably would have worked, but they just didn't have the time to. When they brought Howard in, the timetable just didn't come into effect for them to do the CGI effects.
Yeah, but I really liked the way he played his character.
I thought it was really well done. Yep. I thought
and that felt seamless too.
It was nothing over the top, but he was a solid villain. You know, just what you need. All right. This is a tough question for me because I'm still up in the air. But Star Wars ranking, is it first? Is it third? Is it sixth? Is it 10? Out of all the 10 Star Wars movies made so far, where do you think it lies, B?
Out of the 10?
Yeah, there are 10 Star Wars movies. You have 8 episodic, and you have Rogue One, and now you have Solo. So there are there are 10.
So I would probably put this.
I know it's a hard question.
Obviously, it's not going to be in the top 3.
Yeah,
because I don't think I don't think it beats out any of the original trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
And I put the prequels
Okay.
as 8, 9, and 10.
Okay. All right. So that's your bottom 3.
Right. So then my guy top 3, bottom 3, and then you got the middle stuff which is the stuff that's come out from Disney.
Mm-hmm.
And I would probably put this 4th place on my list. I would put this above Rogue One.
Really? Okay.
Only because of how fun it was, and you know,
not heavy. They don't all die.
It didn't feel like heavy, like it didn't. You know, it didn't feel heavy like it like Rogue One
or The Last Jedi,
and it didn't feel like it was a straight fan service thrown in. We knew going in what it was.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we knew that Han Solo was going to be in this movie. We knew Lando was going to be in this movie. Mm-hmm. We knew Chewie was going to be in this movie. So we know that they survived because they're in 4, 5, and 6. You know, so we kind of knew going in we weren't going to have a lot of death per se for the main characters anyway. Whereas Rogue One, we had all that death.
Yeah. And
then in Force Awakens, though it was awesome to see that on the big screen, you know, you're like, oh my God, Star Wars is back.
Yeah.
You know, they could have almost done without Luke and Leia and everybody, and just done a new Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then did the same thing with The Last Jedi. They could have almost done without that whole extra thing, and just kind of went with their new stuff without having all the back, like trying to play. My opinion is that what Disney's trying to do, what Kathleen Kennedy's trying to done, is she has tried to play both sides. She has tried to pan to the older generation who love the trilogy,
us, yeah.
And she's trying to play to the new guys. So hey, there's new Star Wars,
yeah.
But all she's doing is dividing it even more.
Okay, all right.
And that. So for me, I would rank this moon 4th
overall. Okay.
Yeah.
I would probably Empire is always going to be my favorite. It's definitely below the original. For me, it's just barely below Rogue One. I like Rogue One a little bit better. So it's above the prequels. So that being the case, I guess it's number 5.
It's above Force Awakens.
It's above Force Awakens.
In
Last Jedi. So yeah, it might be 5th or 6th. It's just a fun Star Wars movie, and that's basically all I can say. And I enjoy it just for that, especially after what we've come out of lately with the real heavy stuff. So maybe that's why I'm giving it a little higher ranking. It might go up, it might go down as time goes on. But for now, I've only seen it twice. So the initial viewings. So all right, let's move on. Is this a first run movie in the theater, a second run theater? Is it a home video or a void altogether, Brian?
That's not even a question.
I know.
It's not even a question. Go see it in the
Everybody
theater.
knows what mine's going to be.
Yeah,
so.
Go see it in the theater. It's definitely a first-run movie. We saw it opening night, and then you went and saw it again the next day with your daughter.
Yep.
I've seen it numerous times. I mean, this movie is definitely one to watch in the theater.
Oh yeah.
Just because, just if you like going to a movie and coming out all, you know, yeah, that was a good movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As opposed to some of the other movies we've gone and seen, like Infinity War. Though the whole movie was good and you're intense the whole time, you kind of end it and you're like, what did I just watch? And like,
I watched this.
Yeah, and like to me, I don't tend to like go to the movies to feel that way.
Yeah, it's escapism.
Yeah, I want to go to the movies and I want to feel like I'm somewhere else and I want to feel good for the hero and that's what this was.
Right, that's what it should be. But yeah, for me, it's first run. I think there's this whole boycott thing going on, and we'll get into more of that probably in another podcast that we're calling Solo Fallout. But if you're doing the boycott and you're a Star Wars fan, you're doing yourself a huge injustice. And I'm not just saying that because I want Disney to have your dollars. I'm saying you are missing out on a fun Star Wars movie, something you can eat a ton of popcorn to. You can root for your heroes. you can escape from the real world for a little while and get yourself back in the Star Wars world. And maybe, not that you'll ever recapture your childhood, and that's not why you should go, but it is just a fun time to have in the Star Wars world. And again, you're doing yourself a huge injustice. And there's some big surprises, and there's some twists and some turns that you're missing out on too, that will really open your mind to other things. You have a little bit of a prop problem there, huh? But yeah, so there are other things that will expand you, that will take you and want you to go to other Star Wars mediums and check them out. Trust me. And that's about all I'll say in the non-spoiler part of this. So yeah, please go see it. And I think the last one was, is it better than Rogue One? For me, no. For you, it was yes, Brian. So that pretty much brings our non-spoiler review portion of Solo to an end. If you have not seen the movie, stop this, pause this, go see the movie, and then come back and unpause this. Again, go see the movie. Go in the theaters. Go see it. You're doing yourself a huge injustice, folks.
Yeah, even if you go see it, if you don't want to give it give Disney the full amount, go see it on
Discount
Tuesday, or definitely go see it when it goes to the cheap seats. You're going to do yourself a big injustice by not seeing this on the big screen.
Yeah,
just because it's Star Wars. I mean, some of the scenes with
the Falcon,
the
roar of the engine.
Some of the stuff we've seen just in the trailer alone, watching it on the big screen was great. Watching the whole movie on the big screen was just as good.
Exactly, precisely. All right, so from this point forward, you've been warned.
Spoiler alert.
It's my favorite.
Alert.
I know. But it fits with this because it's Star Wars.
And it's Star Wars. Well, part of it is Star Wars.
No, it's Star Wars.
Spoiler alert.
Okay, so you've been warned. I didn't have time to make the graphic that says spoiler alert, but just so you know, from this point forward, it will be a spoiler section. We're going to spoil the heck out of this movie. I mean, absolutely every probably last detail. So from this point forward, spoiler, you've been warned. Fair enough. So here we go. So this movie, we start off with a young Han Solo and an even younger Han Solo on his home world of Corellia. We get a real good look at Corellia. Corellia seems to be a very dark and industrial Corellia, which, I was a little shocked. I didn't think, I guess it's proper for Han Solo to be raised in such an environment, but I wasn't expecting it to be that industrial, that dark. It's like an industrial park littered with crime.
Well, I don't know so much as if it was industrial and dark. It was definitely industrial.
Yeah.
And the way it looked was we come in at night on him.
Right.
Because later on when we see him, getting away,
it's from early morning.
Yeah. When he comes out of the tunnel or whatever, the sun's bright when they're out on the water and everything, and the sun's bright, and then you can look back. And it almost looks like the entire city has been industrialized so much and built around that there's no way for the light to get in, regardless.
Right. It has that very downtrodden feel, like the Empire, because you see the Star Destroyer above being built
assembled,
above them. Yeah. So it's a world that is heavily Empire controlled, and it's a crime-ridden world. The other thing, I almost forgot to bring it up, and I didn't even put it in the notes, and I can't believe I did. The intro, the crawl, was done differently. So this one we did a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, ... just like always, except then it kept going with the blue font. It said, this is there's this lady Proxima, she's taking in these kids, and the Empire is, downtrodden.
Run by crime and gangsters.
And yet there's this free soul that's trying to live amongst it, and this is his story. Essentially, it was way different, and at first I didn't like it. Second time,
I still don't like it.
It's coming around. It's starting to grow on me.
It's okay.
So slightly.
It's okay. It's one of those personal nitpicks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
but I don't like it. To me, what it resembles to me is a like a war movie.
Yeah,
it's a war movie opening, like lines from opening from a war movie, but done with a Star Wars text.
Kind of, yeah. It's I don't know if it's almost like a fabled pretext, or I forget what they call that in the books, where the pre something
prelogue,
preamble, yeah, whatever. Not preamble, but anyway, I'm getting into the Constitution now. But yeah, it was different. It was, but I went from hating it, and I'm starting to come around. I'm starting to go, well, as long as the saga films don't do that, maybe I'd be okay with the standalones doing it. I don't know. It was just different. It was a cool idea, and I don't mind them trying it on a standalone.
Yeah, I didn't mind them trying it on a standalone. It's not my cup of tea, but I'm not. I don't downgrade the movie because of it.
Right. Okay. So we open up, and Han is part of this Lady Proxima child crime syndicate. It's kind of straight out of, if you've ever seen the movie Oliver. Oliver's part of kind of like this pickpocket organization of kids that go around picking pockets and stuff, and this is no different. I mean, this is pretty much kind of the same thing as the Star Wars version.
It tells it as if there's different layers of it. Like you have the little kids who are pickpockets, and then you have these older teenage young 20-year-olds
who are doing real theft.
They're doing real theft. We come in with Han, and he's lifted this speeder.
Right, he's hot-wired it.
But that's only so he can get away, because the group that he was trying to make a deal with,
he double-crossed.
They double-crossed him, took his money, and the coaxium, which is the fuel or whatever, except for one vial that he was able to take, and he stole their speeder to get away.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like they move up in the ranks.
Yeah, much like the Oliver's movie, really. It's pretty much, I won't say it's ripped from it, but it's very similar. It's just a Star Wars take on it. You get a kind of that brief feel from, The Force Awakens, when you hear the one kid go, well, I'll get a bigger portion because I have this. I'm going to get a much bigger portion. That takes you back to Episode 7 and the food portions.
Yeah.
So they're working to be fed. So the more they bring in, the more they get fed. Kind of like Rey did at the beginning of Episode 7. You find out real quick that Han and Kira are together almost immediately. Smack on the lips. They're kind of in it together. Their dream is to get off to Corellia together and go on adventure together.
Their dream is to get a ship and be able to travel the galaxy and not be told what to do, and just
escape their imprisonment, because essentially they're slaves to Lady Proxima. That's how they survive. They're surviving, but they're not living.
Right, but Lady Proxima calls it protection.
Yeah, of course she does.
She calls it protection because even Kira calls it. If we go, we won't have protection.
Yeah. So they reveal Lady Proxima, which is a giant slug.
It's like a caterpillar.
Big caterpillar inside the water. Who's sensitive to light. I was okay with the alien, but I think I didn't like how she spoke English. I think I'd been okay if they kept her with Huttese or some other, like they did with Jabba the Hutt, speaking an alien language. I think would have been cooler than the...
Yeah, like the old lady.
Solo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then, like what?
What? The hell is this? It was... I let it pass. I mean, I let it roll off my back. But yeah, it was a nitpick on my part.
Oh yeah, I didn't care for that either. I didn't care for the way that villain was. Like, they could have used that cat villain as the boss in that area. I mean, I see how they played out with the sunlight and everything else, but it was like it was just weird.
Speaking of the sunlight, I love the fake thermal detonator scene, which plays right in the Jedi. It's like Han had told Leia, this is how I did it, a little pillow talk, or said something to her, and she used the same thing on Jabba, except it was a real thermal detonator.
This is a thermal detonator. What's that supposed to be?
See, I just armed it. Click.
Yeah. It's like you just made sound with your mouth.
Yeah. That was pretty cool. I got a big chuckle out of that.
Oh, it was pretty funny.
Yeah. And again, great little callback to the old fans. So... But yeah, so they get back in the speeder. There's a nice high-speed chase through Corellia. I enjoyed that. We talked about that in the trailer. We saw a lot of that in the trailer. And I liked how they used this coaxium to try to buy their way through that spaceport. And we were right, that was a spaceport, and there was that gate. I don't know. I like that whole scene. I like how dark it was. I like how gritty it was. And how desperate they are to get through that gate. And like nobody gets through that gate, and if they do,
Oh yeah, the only way to get through that gate is if you are a citizen and you have a pass,
you have the ID,
and you essentially have the money to do it.
Yeah.
And so they don't have that, so they jump in line, because they get
They're
past
being chased
yeah
all
they
the
get past the check-in point to make sure you have a pass.
Yeah.
They get past that point, then they jump into line past that spot, so they don't have to worry about that.
No.
And then once they get up there, then they're trying to buy their way with the
coaxium.
yeah.
Which is cool because Han makes it, and they grab her at the last second. So they're separated from that point there. It's the separation, and they're going different paths, different ways. Han's obviously, he's going nuts, banging on it, let me in, and then eventually he has to bolt because they're after him too.
Right, because what happens is since that the guard notices that there's a lot of commotion right there, all of a sudden she says,
Yeah.
there's been a breach.
Right.
Because if they would have went through with no problem, then she probably wouldn't have said anything.
Yeah.
But since there was an issue, then she's like, oh, there was a breach, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, also before this, because I forgot about this, the dice. I loved how he handed her the dice for luck, even though she's the one that gets grabbed. She gets the bad luck, per se. But the dice, which are nicely displayed, by the way, might I add. So, for everybody to see. Which we got on as part of our opening day present there from AMC. Thank you, AMC.
And they're not plastic either. They're
no, they're real. They're
heavy metal.
Very heavy. Nice pewter dice. Anyway, gold painted pewter. So yeah, it was. What was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. Oh, so yeah, so Kira goes one way. She's cutting back, and Han goes back, and then he ends up turning to the Empire Recruitment Center for his way out of being on the other side of the gate because they're looking for him. Which I thought was funny about that scene is you hear the Imperial March playing on the outside with the little hologram. And for those Rebels fans out there, I'm almost positive that's the same Imperial March that plays in the Rebels.
It is. And it's also actually it's the same...
From Empire Day episode.
Yes, it's actually the same... the same Join the Empire...
from propaganda
from Rebels.
From Rebels.
Because when we were watching it on Rebels, I don't know if you remember or not. I said, oh, this reminds me a lot of Starship Troopers.
Yeah, the same.
It's like join the Empire. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then this one, it was the exact same.
Yeah. So nice nod, nice connection, nice little tie-in. So if you're a Rebels fan, there you go. If not, go back and watch Rebels. You don't know what you're missing. So yeah, it was cool. Then the big thing, and this is kind of a. I'll say controversial. Some people like it. I liked it. Some people didn't. So Han goes to sign up. He wants to be a pilot. And he goes, well, what's your last name? He's like, I have no last name. And so the Imperial guy goes,
he said, well, who's your people?
Who's your people?
He's like,
I don't have people.
I don't have people.
And he's like, well, he just thinks, he's like, Han Solo.
Yeah, he said, so you're Solo.
Yeah.
Solo. Han Solo.
And I'm okay with that because to me he's accepting that. He's like his what's the monogram? That's his badge of courage. That's his.
Well, I think it's him against the world.
Yeah, it totally describes it, and he owns it and he takes it. Some people are like, "Oh, I can't believe the Empire. He let the Empire name him, and that's not cool or anything." I understand that. I thought it was a cool little way to do it.
I liked it.
I liked it too. And I know a lot of people thought, well, that's a little disservice to his character. I don't think so, because I think he owns it. I think he knows that that's who he is. That's going to be his monogram the rest of his life going forward, and he uses it. That's his scarlet letter. That's what I was trying to think of. Not that there's any shame involved, but nevertheless.
And then right at the end of that scene, he says, "We'll get you flying soon, kid."
Yeah, it was like, can you follow orders? Great. And then next scene, it says 3 years later, and it's a Imperial Walker being dropped on the mud world of Minbom.
Yep, and he's a mud trooper.
And he's a mud trooper. He's been kicked out of the academy apparently for not following orders.
For being a free thinker is what he said.
Free thinker. And he's literally in the middle of this giant war zone. My only critique of the Minbom scene is we don't see the aliens that they're fighting. You just see blaster fire and you see the Imperials. It's a way probably to cut down on costs, but it would have been nice to see that alien species.
Yeah, even if we saw dead aliens on the ground, like you didn't have to animate them. Yeah. Even if we saw dead aliens on the ground in certain spots, we didn't see anything.
No. It would have been even cooler, I thought, and I thought to myself, I said, if they're going to put Vader in, this might be the spot they do it. They didn't do it, but
right, that'd have been cool.
To see Vader leading the troops with his lightsaber out. You know? But it was still pretty cool. I love the environment. I love the grit, the dirtiness of the scene. I like, Han's still trying to be this free thinker in this giant army, and he's not exactly obeying orders so much,
Right, he's following the flow, but he's still questioning things.
And he's totally caught up in this war and that's going on around him. Very much so. And also, this is a good point too. This was the first time I think we ever saw officers in battle. Up to this point, it's always just been stormtroopers sent out in the battle. But here you've got officers leading them. In fact, they were kind of wearing that General Veers armor from that you saw in Empire Strikes Back, with like a metal vest or whatever, armor around them. I thought this was different. I thought, okay, so now we have the enlisted, which is your stormtroopers, and now you have the lieutenants, the captains, all that in their military gear as well, with the robes on. It looked very World War II, very Nazi-esque, like they're supposed to look.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely felt that way, and it definitely, it was like, come on, Solo, blah, 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 follow me. Where are we going? We're going over this hill. And he turns around to run, and they get blown up. Yeah. And then Han's like, crap. And he turns around and runs the other way.
Your Empire needs you. You know, for the Empire, blah, 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 and all this stuff. I like how Han figures out that Beckett is not part of the Imperial crew. I thought that was a cool little scene.
Well, before that, when we get introduced to Beckett, basically Han is in a ditch, and there's like a giant smoke cloud, and all you see is a group of people, what we assume is troopers, come over the ridge, but you see one who intends to be Beckett, but he comes in, all you see is a shadow, but you see his blasters.
He's doing the
twirl. And he's twirling, and he's spinning, and he's doing all the Western type shooting, and you can just tell Han is just in awe of this guy, and he's like, that's awesome.
Yeah, and that's probably his first clue he's not an Imperial, because he's doing things that are
outside the box.
Outside of the box, yeah, very much so. And again, I love how he figures out that he's not an Imperial, because he sees he's got 3 burn marks through his armor that would have killed anybody else. And he's like, that's his first clue that these guys are not Imperials, whatsoever.
That, and then when Rio pulls up
his armor, and he's got a hand coming out his butt, an extra hand. And then, of course, he overhears the plan to steal the AT hauler, which is what brings down those the walkers and drops them off. Apparently.
Yeah, brings down the walkers and also carries. It looked like it carries the train cars.
Yes. Yeah, or some sort of a personnel vehicle as well. But yeah, it's just kind of like a big transport ship, heavy hauler. Anyway, we'll put it to you that way. I like how Han tries to blackmail Beckett and his crew. He's like,
well, first he tries to get on our crew, and they say, "Oh no, we don't need you." Yeah, and he's like, "Well, no, I want to join," and he's like, "We're not interested." And then that's when he says, "Well, if you're not interested, I bet the lieutenant will be interested in you." And then all of a sudden,
and then Beckett's like, turns around. Yeah, Beckett's like, "Oh, blackmail, huh? I like it, Lieutenant. We have a deserter."
And don't believe anything he says. He's a liar.
And then I love how they say, "Feed him to the beast." Now,
and Han says, "Wait, there's a beast?"
First thing I thought to, as soon as they said that, in my mind, I went Rancor. Especially when they threw him down in the mud pit. Oh, see, I was thinking Rancor the whole time.
See, I didn't think Rancor. I thought it was going to be a version of the Snow Beast.
Oh, okay. I didn't think about that. Yeah, from
because even when they do the shot from behind, you see the hair and it's moving slow, like when we saw the Snow Beast.
Yeah, kind of like
the behind the scenes
maybe
walk.
Covered in mud.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was Chewie until you saw that first foot step into the mud, and then I was like, okay, it's Chewie, which is a cool way. So, which is cool and it's not cool, because when he lands in the mud pit, you see armor, no bodies, and then you see Chewie, and they say they haven't fed him in 3 days, so he's got to be hungry. Is Chewie a cannibal?
Well, no, he's
big, lovable Chewie that everybody wants to hug. Is he?
He wouldn't be a cannibal.
Is he?
He's going to be a man-eater.
Man-eater.
He'd be a carnivore.
Carnivore, yeah.
And I think so, because I mean, even in Force Awakens, right? We see
Jedi. Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, the last Jedi.
No, Return of the Jedi. Where you're talking about the big thing of meat in the net.
Oh well, there's that too. But I was talking about when we saw him in Last Jedi with the porks.
With the porks, yeah, okay.
He's eating meat,
right?
We've never actually thought about them eating.
No, everybody wants to hug Chewie. Nobody wants to run from Chewie.
Same thing with Ewoks.
Yeah.
They were gonna
Barbecue.
him. So
Yeah.
I was like, "Ugh."
So we're seeing the more savage side of Chewie.
Oh yeah.
So to speak. But I love this whole fight scene between him and Han.
That's weird.
Why is that?
That's weird. Why would he eat people? He fought with them on.
Yeah, on Kashyyyk. But if that's the only thing he's got to eat, I don't know.
So he's just gonna eat people? He just worked with them on in the
I don't know.
in
That's
the
why.
prequels?
That's why I'm asking the question.
That's stupid.
Completely out
God,
of character.
I'm changing my rating of this movie now.
Chewie cannot be a man eater. Damn it! I want to hug Chewie. I don't want him to eat me. Yeah, it just. I don't know. It definitely begs the question. But I did like this whole fight scene between these two. I like how he's just throwing them around, and then all of a sudden Han starts speaking Wookiee.
Yeah.
He's like, huh?
Yeah, he's getting ready to push him into the mud and suffocate him. And he starts speaking Wookiee, and all of a sudden Chewie's like, huh? But what's really funny is that if Chewie understands English,
Yeah.
why couldn't he said something beforehand? Like, I don't understand why there's the bickering, and why all of a sudden that stopped him was the Wookiee.
Well, I think maybe he went and said, well, this guy's different. Like, he's just not
okay.
another Imperial meal.
Oh, I guess so, maybe.
Maybe. But I liked how he spoke Wookiee, and I liked how he kept speaking Wookiee. A lot of people are like, why didn't you just switch over to English? Because you got 2 stormtroopers and you don't want them to hear your plan
Right.
to escape, right?
Yep.
So to me, that's self-explanatory. I don't know why people are getting mad about that. But anyway, but I like how they were chained together even after they get out. And Chewie throws him out.
Throws him out first, and then he gets out. And then he's like, okay, my friends are this way. And Han goes way to run, but Chewie's going other direction and just completely pulls him out.
Yeah.
Pulls his legs and just pulls him with him.
Until he finally convinces him, hey, we need to go this way. I don't care what you do afterwards. Let's just go this way. Then get us out of here.
Yeah. And then they get right in front of the AC hauler as they're taking off.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you can tell that Beckett is debating on stopping.
Right. Rio's all about it.
Rio is all about
is
it.
That a Wookiee?
Yeah. He even says it funny. He's like, ooh, is that a Wookiee?
Is that a Wookiee?
Oh man. You never had a good night's sleep until you curl up in a Wookiee's lap.
That's what Beckett.
Oh my god,
hilarious!
I was laughing.
And he did bring up a good. Rio also said, "Well, we could use some muscle on the job." Yeah. I mean, come on, it's a Wookiee.
You were saying you needed muscle.
Yeah, so there you go.
And so here, Han thinks it's because of him that they came back down, but really it was because of Chewie.
Chewie, the whole time, and he's making Chewie think, "Hey, see, you owe me one." Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally not.
Yeah.
And then on the ship, the shower scene.
Where they're cleaning off because they were just covered in mud. And you can and it's funny because they're just showing Han, so you know it's Han,
right?
And you're showing his feet and all the mud coming off, and then all of a sudden it pans out just a little farther, and then Chewie steps up in
giant things of fur covered in mud.
And he's like, "We couldn't do this separately." It was pretty funny.
A little awkward.
Yeah.
A little awkward. Yeah. So, some really good comedy mixed in with the action, like most of this movie was. Just fun. Good old-fashioned Star Wars fun. So we move on to Vandor. That's the snow-covered planet.
Right.
That's where they're going to do the big train heist. And the first line out of that, I like how he goes, "Well, what's your name?" Chewbacca. I'm not going to say that every time. You're going to need a nickname, which is what revolves into Chewie, obviously.
Right.
Which I thought was a cool little nod, little back and forth. Some other things that happened early on in Vandor, you got the whole they're talking about how they're going to do the train heist and how it's all going to go down, and Val mentions she brings up Bosk. She's like, maybe we should have gotten Bosk for this job. So there's another nod to Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, we should have got
fan favorite bounty hunter.
We should have got so and so sisters. I don't remember what they were.
I can't remember who those were now.
So and so sisters, or we could have got Bosk.
Yeah,
and and I'm thinking, like, Bosk, he's a bounty hunter. Why would they get him for a heist? And then you start thinking, and you're like,
criminal underworld.
Exactly. So maybe
hey.
Maybe that's
hung out in Jabba's palace.
Yeah, so maybe that was the kind of element that he was in.
Yeah,
and he was also a bounty hunter.
Yeah, so I thought it was just cool that he was brought up. Just more Star Wars ties for the the hardcore fans like us.
Not needed, but
noticeable, but nice.
Yep.
You find out that that Val and Beckett are an item, and she's like, I think you even brought it up. I think you're the one that said she's kind of like his guiding light or his conscience, even like for Beckett. It seems like she's kind of keeps him on the
yeah, she keeps him grounded
and keeps him where
his moral character.
Yeah, keeps what little moral character he has. Anyway.
Yep.
I thought that was an interesting dynamic. Rio, I really wish they hadn't killed him off. I really liked it.
He died.
He died. Spoiler alert. I don't know. What did you think of the monkey, the space monkey? That's what everybody's calling him. But
yeah, I mean that's even from the trailers. That's what I thought it was.
Yeah,
he's a monkey. He's a space spider monkey.
Yeah, with
because he has 6 arms, right?
Well, he had
6 appendages.
Yeah, 6 appendages. Yeah,
4 arms, 2 legs.
2 legs,
but they're all can work as arms.
Yeah, which I thought was pretty cool.
I really liked the character. I thought we would have gotten a little more of him.
Yeah.
I knew he was going to die. I kind of got the feeling he was going to die off only because he was a last-minute ad. Mm-hmm. When they added Jon Favreau as a character voice.
Yeah.
I was like, he's not going to have a big role in this, but
Favreau did a hell of a job with that voice.
He did a really good job with the voice, but you could tell it was him.
Yeah, you could.
But I enjoyed the character. I definitely wish we would have got more of him.
Yeah, I would like to. He was really he was very heavily in favor of Han and Chewie, but he was also likable in that fun way, Star Wars way. But yeah, I would like to have seen more. Maybe we'll probably get more of him. Maybe as a prequel comic with Beckett and Val. I don't know. And then obviously we lose Val too, which was kind of a big shocker too.
Right. But before that, we get the Han's origin for his blaster.
Oh, yeah. Yes, that was cool. Now that was interesting.
His blaster.
To me, I never realized that his blaster was actually an assault rifle that they took apart.
Yeah, and they put the extra piece on here.
Yeah, and the back part was.
And they put the back on here,
which would make sense because if you look at it, there's like a little notch for the clip.
There's a clip here, and it's got a scope on it.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that there'd be a scope.
At one time, it was a bigger assault rifle turned into a personal rifle,
right?
A handgun,
which was really cool.
Yeah.
So we got to see that. We got to see Beckett make it for him.
Yep, and then kiss it and throw it to him.
And give it to him.
Yep.
And then we also, this is why we're doing this. Why are you doing this, kid? And then they're like, oh, is it revenge? Is it plotted against somebody? And then Val says, no, you can tell by his look, it's for a girl.
Yeah.
And then Rio's like, ooh, a girl? Tell us about her. Tell us about her, Han. Does she have sharp teeth? And it's like, oh my god, it was hilarious.
I even like how they gave Chewie a little scene in there, and he's just going.
Oh yeah. Like, what did they say?
Looking for his family or his tribe. I couldn't tell.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't tell. And then he's like, "Well, he has to go now because you never want to piss off a Wookiee." and then Chewie does this little laugh. He's like,
You never want to uninvite a Wookiee.
Yeah. That was pretty good.
That was a great scene. Thanks for that. I skipped over that completely. My bad. But yeah, it was a big surprise was Val's sacrifice during the whole train heist. I love the train heist, though. It was pretty much everything we saw in the trailer.
And we got some Viper drones.
Yeah.
The Viper drones were kind of cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Which ultimately was Val's demise. She was pinned down for those, and then for the greater good of the whole thing.
She blows herself up.
She blows her up. Now, do you think that she did that knowing that the coaxium needed to be for the Empire because of Enfys Nest? And that's why she did it? Or do you think she did it only because so that Beckett could pay off Dryden Voss and get out of the thing?
I'm going to go with the latter for now.
Yeah, me too.
I
just thought I'd throw it out there because self-sacrifice doesn't typically just go with one person. It's usually like an idea.
Yeah, and we're getting ahead of ourselves here for a minute, but the first theory would go along with some other fans out there that think Enfys Nest is Beckett and Val's offspring. There's maybe about that much, but to that. But yeah, that would lend clear credence to that if that were the case. But it was everything I thought. I love the stormtroopers, the fight. The only thing that I wanted to see more of was Enfys Nest versus Beckett, and we only got what we saw in the trailer. So that was a little lacking, I thought.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Enfys Nest character.
I thought it was going to be a lot more than it turned out to be. It was still cool what happened, but it wasn't what I expected. Mm-hmm. That was definitely a twist.
Yep.
From what I was thinking it was going to be, and how I thought it was all going to go down. But, you know, with Val and Rio's death, it does validate Han and Chewie, their need to be part of with Beckett's crew, because that's all he's got.
Right, correct.
He still needs the muscle. He still needs a pilot.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it also right there at that scene after they pull it, and they got Enfys Nest and her group pulling on the container, and Han's pulling on the container, and they're going right towards the mountain.
Yeah.
It plays into the later on when we find out the reason why Han is in so much trouble with Jabba is because he dumped his
cargo.
He dumped his cargo when he saw the Empire.
Mm-hmm.
This one he dumps his cargo as soon as
because he knows he can't get out of it otherwise.
He's like, there's danger, so
time
to dump it.
Gotta cut loose. Yep. He's being smart.
So it's kind of like a precursor to him kind of making those choices.
Yeah, later on,
because he even does it later in the movie when he dumps the escape pod.
Yeah, same thing.
But that had more of a plan to it, more so than dumping of it. But
still, I mean, he does what he has to do to get by.
Yep.
Get through the situation. It's a great point, Brian, and it's a great building point that the Kasdans do in this movie to show, what it's true to the Han character, to who he is. So yeah, great point there. And I did also like how Han and Chewie just kind of like Beckett was going to let him go. He's like, if you go with me, kid, you're in it forever.
Yeah, he goes because they've never seen you, they don't know anything about you.
Right. He was going to let him off the hook, and even though he struck Han, he hit him. But after that, he was going to let him go, and they owned up to it. They're like, no, we're with you, and we're going to go through this with you.
Yeah.
Which I thought was...
Yeah, we'll make it better. Well, it goes back to that Han's the good guy.
Good guy. Yeah, ultimately. He's not the scoundrel he thinks he is.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Let's go to Dryden Voss's yacht. Very interesting ship, to be sure. It's incredibly long.
I was going to say, it looks like an elongated Slave One.
Kind of, yeah. That's a good point.
I mean, like, because Slave One it's got the long base to it.
Yeah.
Right? And then this is just even longer, but it's got it's kind of like a mix between Slave One and then Jabba's palace. Like Jabba's sand...
You're talking about the yacht, his yacht.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a cross between the two.
A little bit. The only thing I could recent memory, it reminded me of the ship at the end of Rebels that Ahsoka shows up on. It's kind of maybe it's the same class.
It could be. I was to say it could be similar
in some way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was. It's definitely a luxury yacht, though. I mean, because you can see there's a party going on at the top of the thing, and there's different levels of his office, and everything's very extravagant. Very much on the up and up. He has his security, obviously, and he has his guards. But
when you come in, there's almost like a coat check room.
Yeah, it's like a...
And you walk in, and you walk into like a closet. Like it's literally like just like an entryway.
Yeah, because it's narrow, and then it gets bigger as it goes
and up. Then you walk in, and you go into the elevator, and you go up.
Right. Yeah, it's just like a level of security. It's cool ship. I got to admit.
You say it's cool as shit?
I did not. It's a cool ship, is what I said.
Cool ship.
But cool as shit does work as well. Thank you.
It's like, oh my goodness.
That's a great analogy.
What podcast is this? Is a Deadpool.
It's cool as shit, damn it. This isn't a Deadpool podcast now.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so it's very much high society. There's like a high society criminal party going on, would you say, B?
Yeah.
All this,
well, it almost seems like a brothel-esque type of atmosphere with like you have the call girls that are up there,
the nightclub singer,
singer. It's very like gangster.
I think it's called a Guys and Dolls Club.
Like a Guys and Dolls Club. Yeah, very very similar to like something similar like that you'd see in a movie. What's really funny is I know you've never seen it, but the show Lucifer. Yeah, he owns a nightclub.
Kind of similar looking,
and it kind of has a similar feel to it. Like it even has the stairs and
the upper level.
Yeah, and it has a piano that he plays and he sings at, and then there's a nice upscale bar, which is where Chewie gets his drinks.
Right.
I mean, it's very well done.
Yeah. How about that singer though? Was that pretty? That was a nice little Star Wars twist. You had like the
duet
singer, and then you had the little green guy and the globe singing.
Right. You remember in our trailer review we were talking. We're like is that singer because is that
she controlling him or he controlling her?
And it was neither.
It
was neither.
But
she just had like a voice, like a hands-free mic essentially.
Yeah.
In front of her, and then he had a microphone that he was singing inside of the tube.
Right. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was neat.
It was a nice little Star Wars twist on the the Guys and Dolls Club, I
Yeah.
guess we'll call it.
Yeah.
It's a high society criminal get together. It's where all the shady business goes down. You see how deadly Voss is. He takes out the regional governor. Or
Yeah, the
whatever,
governor.
outside the party.
Yeah, and because she's like, oh, Voss will be with you in a moment. He's finishing up now with the governor. And we pan real quick to Voss, and here he is. Here he stabbed him, and the governor's falling to the ground. We're like, oh,
yeah.
and because they made it sound like it was just like he was just finishing up, like, hey, we'll see you later. Thanks for doing business with us.
Yeah,
and here it wasn't.
And he's all puffed up and stuff, and then he's like, well, you know what? It's a party, right? So, and he goes off and does his thing. So he has this deadly side to him, but he's also has this upper society party playboy. I don't know if it's playboy, but
I don't know. I wouldn't call it playboy, but I would definitely call it a bipolar almost.
Almost, yeah. In a way.
Bipolar because he's got two totally different personalities. Like he's got the one personality where if everything's going fine, he's good, and then as soon as something doesn't go the way he wants it,
then things kick in.
You can see it. His eyes turn red. He gets the scars on his face turn real red.
Yeah,
like you can just see him getting angry.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's also, I like how he goes up to Becky. He's like, "I'm so sorry to hear about Val." Puts his arm around him.
Yeah, like buddy.
Yeah,
but you knew that he was. I'm sorry to hear about Val.
Yeah.
And his next question was going to be, "Where's the coaxium?"
Right, exactly. But he's like, "Are you okay? Are you holding up all right?" He's still doing that. Social shit,
right?
But yeah, it was interesting to see for sure. And then obviously Han runs back into Kira of all places. She reappears.
Well,
she finds him
because
in the party
because Becca tells him, "Keep your eyes down, don't talk to anybody."
Right.
So he walks over to the window.
Yeah, just to look out.
Just to kind of look out and kind of periodically look across the room, but kind of look out the window. Chewie says he's getting something to drink, I guess, because he... And he goes to get something to drink, right?
Yeah.
And then, all of a sudden, a hand goes on Han's shoulder, and he says, Chewie, I told you. And he turns around, and just his jaw drops. It's Kiera. And he's like, oh my God, you're here.
Immediate hug.
Immediate hug, because all he's been thinking about for these 3 years...
is her.
Is getting back to her.
Yeah. Which is completely out of character for the Han Solo we know, really, because he doesn't show too much emotion.
And I think that's why, is because this is what sets him up.
Yeah.
To be the cold and hold himself in, like all of his emotion in, because he's been burned before, and this is his original love, his burn.
Yeah.
And but it is funny that they're interacting or whatever, and then Chewie gets the 2 shots of whatever he was going to get, and he turns around to go walk back over to Han, and he sees him, and he's like, and then he takes the one, takes the other one, and then when he takes the second one, you can see it all run down the front of his fur. Oh, it's too funny.
Drunken Chewie. He has a drinking problem.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Poor Chewie. Poor Chewie. Can't drink. Yeah, so it was it was interesting to see that, like I said, this very happy Han, just completely out of character for me, because he's always...
And he still had his charm, though. Like, he really had his charm. So, like, we have it in the notes about his, they're walking away, and you could tell Kiera's in kind of like an important person in this scenario, because people are kind of saying hi to her,
keeping their distance too, to be honest.
And then the one girl, one of the waitresses, walks by with the drinks, and she just grabs 2 drinks and says, "Here, what should we drink to?" And then Han says, "Let's drink 2 and see where it takes us."
See where it goes from there.
Yeah, it was like, oh, that was great, man. That was good.
That's smooth, baby.
Yeah,
that's a Lando move right there.
That was pretty good.
But yeah, it was cool.
And that's before she finds out that he works for Beckett.
Yeah, that's before,
right.
Completely.
So she thinks he's just there.
Right, he just happens to be there.
Right, and then she finds out that he's working with Beckett, and she's like, oh, fuck. And you can almost tell, like, she's getting ready to say, go away.
Yeah, like, you need to get out of here.
And then right before that happens, you can see Dryden Voss come in behind and say, so, this is Han Solo, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like,
oh, you 2 know each other. You're both from Corellia.
Yeah.
I like a man that pulls himself up, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. It was... And
it was like, crap, now he's in.
And then I love the meeting that they have, and I like how Han talks his way out of it.
Yeah,
he's
like
going to kill him. He's like, well... There's no way you can do that, so you know what comes next. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's no way you're going to get your hands on that much refined coaxium. And he's like, what about unrefined? Mm-hmm. It's like just thinking, like, what about unrefined?
And we also get our first clue that he works for somebody bigger and badder, because he goes, well, you know who I work for, you know what he's going to ask, you know what I've got to do.
Crimson Dawn.
Yeah. They're Crimson Dawn, and apparently
Crimson
Voss
Dawn
is not the #1 man in Crimson Dawn.
Well,
he has a master.
Well,
he
has a boss.
has a master. Has a boss.
He has a boss.
Yeah.
He has a boss.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That you're really having trouble with that.
It's so weird. You wouldn't think that he'd be here.
I know. It's kind of
and he hasn't been on any other Star Wars podcast that we've done.
No.
But yet he's right here, as if it played a part of Solo. Him and his crimson face.
Ooh, crimson face. Yes, crimson mask.
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay. All right. So, but we digress. For now. But he talks his way into this crazy high-risk plan of going to Kessel, getting unrefined coaxium, shipping it back to a refinery that's not Imperial controlled, and having to do it very quickly because apparently unrefined coaxium itself is unstable, but unrefined coaxium, if not kept frozen, is incredibly unstable.
Correct.
So we find out. So he comes up with this crazy plan to take it to this refinery and get it that way, and steal it from the Pike Syndicate because they won't know that they're part of Crimson Dawn. Even though Crimson Dawn and the Pike Syndicate have a treaty of some kind.
The Pike Syndicate.
Yeah, we've heard of that before, haven't we?
Oh, we've heard of that.
Clone Wars, maybe?
We've heard of that before with someone else. I mean,
I think it was the Clone Wars.
They do a lot of tiebacks. They do a lot of tiebacks in this.
There's a lot of throwbacks. If you haven't seen Clone Wars and you haven't seen Rebels, we've always said you're doing yourself a huge injustice, but this movie will make you want to go back and watch those, in my opinion.
I don't know about the Clone Wars, but it definitely the Rebel tie-in was
noticeable.
It was definitely noticeable.
Yeah. But yeah, so he talks himself to this crazy plan, and then Voss sends Kira along to ensure that the plan works. You know, he's like,
right. Well, because he said, we won't let you down. We won't let it fail. And that's when Dryden Voss says, "Oh, I know you won't," because Kira's going with you.
Exactly.
And basically Kira is like a general for him.
Yes, she's like his number 2.
Yeah, so she's like right there next to him, which is really weird. And you're like, oh, okay, I didn't see that coming. Like you could have seen that they were working together, but not that he was number 2.
Yeah.
And then you even see that they're even closer than, like it's almost like they're together.
And even Beckett with Han he's kind of like you don't want her around. He's even tried to tell her that later on in the movie.
Don't know her.
You don't know her. You don't know what she's done. She's got a past that you don't know about. So yeah. But of course, Kira knows somebody who has a fast ship, and starts talking about this guy that has a fast ship and how he's debonair and how he has exquisite tastes and how he has a certain something that is also very well in, and then Han cuts her off. All right, I've heard enough. And of course, that person is Lando Calrissian. Donald Glover steals the show as Lando, in my opinion.
So in his very first scene,
yeah.
If you were to close your eyes and listen to him at the sabacc table,
yep,
he sounds dead on Billy D. Williams.
The first couple lines, because you don't even see him yet. They're still panning. You kind of see him. And those first couple lines come out, and I swear to God, it is Billy D. Williams.
It sounds so close.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, wow. And later on, you can tell Donald Glover's making it his own.
Right.
But he still has several of the lines in it.
Mm-hmm.
But that line,
his mannerisms, especially how he gets that,
he delivers them,
how he gets that drink, like we saw in the trailer. Everything you've heard is true.
Yeah.
It's total Lando. I mean, the coolest man in the galaxy, Colt 45, is back. It's younger version, but he's back, and he sells it completely. I at no time did I say that's not Lando in this entire movie.
Yeah,
that's how good it is. So Han kind of gets schooled and cheated by Lando and Sabacc
because Lando cheated.
Yeah. And Han's a pretty good card player, turns out. Though.
Because, well, he goes, I kind of know what I'm talking about. Like I kind of know the game.
Once or twice.
And then he starts playing. It's like he's a pro.
Beginner's luck, huh?
Yeah, right. So he's playing like he's a pro, but Lando's basically just setting him up because he knows he can take him with his cheating. Way he cheats.
Yeah.
And it's one of those that's like, oh, So that's how Lando's as good as he is because he cheats.
Right, and good call, by the way, on the guy with 6 eyes. Because you said he was going to be in the car scene. He sure
Yep.
and that whole scene was hilarious.
When we were going through the car, the characters from the cards on, was it Denny's?
Yeah, the Denny's trading cards.
And we saw the one, and I said he's going to be he's going to be at the spot game. I said, and $10 says he's using one of his eyes to look over.
And sure enough,
and it was in the movie, and they even said the eye turned over looking at his cards, and Hans says, "Look at your own cards. Put all of your eyes on your cards." He goes, "I don't want you to see mine." He goes, "Now I've seen yours."
Yeah, because he's turned his cards towards him.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Han's a pretty damn good card player, but he just happens to lose because Lando has a mechanical device with cheat cards.
With the cheat card in his hand.
Yeah, and so he loses his hand because he gets Kira to spot him.
Well,
he wins big.
Well, what was funny is Han's a card counter.
Yeah,
and he plays that without out, and he's like, and I, blah blah blah, and he's like, oh, or I could have won because he shows his cards, and he goes,
"There's no way.
There's no way. Right. He never could have had that card."
Yeah. Because he knows.
Because he was, because he's a card counter.
Yeah, exactly. Good point on that, B.
Yeah.
So Lando gives him a little bit of a schooling, I guess, in the cheating of Sabacc. And I like how Lando and Kira, because Lando comes out, where's my, because Han says he has such and such ship, which everybody goes, ooh, that's a great ship. And apparently he's bluffing, obviously.
Yeah.
Lando's like, where's my ship? And before he has a chance to, he's like, well, it's in the shop, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then Kira comes in.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden you can see the tone change, and he's like, oh, Kira.
Yeah.
Because he knows who she works for. And then he's like, I already paid my debt to Crimson Dawn.
Crimson Dawn, yeah.
And then you're like, is he worried about Crimson Dawn or Kira?
Or Kira, yeah.
And later on we find out Kira knows that, what is it called?
What's that?
Terra Kasai or whatever?
Oh, yeah. Terra Kasai, yeah. Terra Kasai is a martial arts in the Star Wars universe, and it was also used by a certain Darth Maul. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, look at that.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
How did that happen?
You still got the dice. It's okay.
What happened there?
The dice have fallen into the Millennium Falcon. It's all right.
Oh, there you go.
That's where it belongs on the Millennium Falcon. It was in the cockpit. Did you see that?
Yep.
It wanted to go home.
These nice dice.
AMC dice.
Yeah.
Yeah, these were awesome. Anyway, we're not gloating or anything. Not even a little bit.
It's nice when you can have free stuff.
Free stuff. Cool stuff. All right. So they go in this whole negotiation, and I like how when Beckett gets involved, Lando's he changes his tune with him because he goes, Beckett, the guy who killed Aura Singh, ding ding ding, Clone Wars reference, by the way. And he goes, well, she didn't so much. She just kind of fell. I didn't really kill her.
I didn't really kill her. I just pushed her.
Yeah, essentially.
She fell.
Yeah, and you can tell that Lando is scared of Beckett. Like he knows his reputation, and he respects that reputation, much like he did with Kira, but even more so with Beckett, because Beckett's like, he comes up behind him and goes 25%.
Yep,
and that's when he says,
because he's like, I'll do it for 60 whatever percent or whatever he says, and then Beckett pulls up, he's like 25%.
Yep.
That was everything he says. I don't agree with this, but I like. I'll
no, that's when we get. That's the landing gear.
Yeah, but he does say something similar to that, and he's like, "Okay, 25%."
Yeah, because it's Beckett. He's
okay.
Yeah, I have to thank you. I owed Aura Singh quite a bit of money. Thank you for that. And that's the whole back and forth. So it was another nice little Clone Wars reference.
Which is funny. So that means he owed her money, and Red Crimson Dawn,
yeah. Interesting.
Yep.
So yeah.
And then in Cloud City he also owed money.
Yeah. Kind of crazy how that works, huh?
Yeah.
Some things never change. Although he's a respectable leader by the time we get there. Empire Strikes Back. And then we're introduced to my least favorite character in the movie.
Awful.
L337. L337 is an activist droid. Who is out to get who wants droids to be independent of humans. They are not slaves to humans.
Yeah, independent, everything. It was awful.
I think what they were going for is they were trying to make fun of activists. I think is what they were trying to do, but it fell extremely flat.
It just came off annoying.
Yeah, she came off very annoying. She's a droid with a female personality. It's a female droid, and she has this whole activism. They're having like this BattleBots competition, and
the two battle droids fighting each other out.
And she goes to the one droid. She's like, "You shouldn't act like this. You shouldn't have to do this in front of these people." Blah blah blah. You know, does her whole spiel.
So it almost came across like they were making fun of activists, women activists,
yes,
and anybody with the like you deserve rights or whatever, like those kind of movements, like making fun of all of them, because every time she would talk, it was almost as if it was a joke,
right? Like that was trying to be the punchline, and the problem is it fell flat. It wasn't even like it was funny, like, ha ha ha, I get what they're doing. It was like, I see it, but like you said, it was annoying. She was annoying.
Highly annoying.
Her voice was annoying.
Yeah, well, even like, who are these guys? Like, you just, like, she just had, like, that bitchy attitude that, like, a lot of people have. A lot of people have that bitchy attitude.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, these are so-and-so, and we're going to take them to Kessel. And she goes, what if I choose not to?
Yeah.
You know, like...
And why would I? You know, because I'm your captain.
And it was just like, oh my God.
I know, right? And then they throw in the whole love story with Lando between this droid and Lando, and I'm just like, okay, we've reached the term, man. I can't get past that.
And they even forced it on us, because the droid turns around to Kara and says, "Well, what are you gonna do about your problem?" She said, "What problem?" "Well, I noticed by your tattoo on your arm,
you're committed
that
to
your brand on your arm that you're committed
to Crimson Dawn,
or Dryden Voss, one or the other."
Right.
She said, "But I also noticed that."
I had the same problem with Lando.
But Han's heart rate increases when he's around you, so he's in love with you.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't love me. We're just friends. She goes, "No, you're not." And then she says, "Trust me, because I have the same thing with Lando." And she goes, "But I don't something." It basically insinuates some kind of sex between the two.
Yeah.
And then Kara goes, "How would that even work?" And then the robot turns back around and goes, "Oh, it works."
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, line here, way over here.
What?
I can handle Lando getting it on with any alien race, any.
Well, yeah, because
Lando,
even
cool and smooth.
well,
He's even flirting with Han for crap's sake.
Well, even Kirk does that in Star Trek,
right?
So I mean, I'm okay with the whole like different alien species.
Yeah.
Different humanoid alien species.
Yeah.
But the whole this droid robot, like, really?
I know. And I even forgave the fact that Lando was flirting with Han, just ever so slightly. I even forgave that.
Well, yeah, because he's like, buckle up, baby.
Yeah, buckle up, baby.
Buckle up, baby.
I like this guy. But yeah, I can handle him being smooth. But with the droid, it's kind of like a sex doll. It just doesn't really work. It
was weird
area. And she's like, "You're gonna have to do that thing again. You know, where you push that thing back. You're gonna have to do that again." And even he's like. He rolls his eyes.
Yeah.
Lando rolls his eyes. So it was just weird. The whole character concept fell flat. The humor fell flat. That was really just uncomfortable.
It was annoying.
And it just made her that much more annoying to me. So yeah.
But to each their own. If that's your thing, then hey.
Hey, if you're into sex with robots, hey, yeah, whatever. I'm not going there. If I only had the R2 sound effects, I would be hitting them. All right.
Yeah.
I can't get past that on my head now. Okay, so we find out that it sounds like Lando may be in some financial trouble, though, and that's why he's taking this job in the first place.
Oh yeah, well you can definitely tell.
Yeah.
That as soon as he finds out there's money involved, he's like, "I'm in."
Yeah, and it's even more so because we find out that the Falcon is not in a landing zone; it's in an impound yard.
Right, and he's like L3, do your thing.
Yeah,
and she's like, "Look away!
I can't perform.
While you watch."
Kind of funny.
That was a funny line. I can't perform while you watch. And then so basically they all still look. She goes, "I can tell you're still watching."
And it's just a cutout wheel that comes out. And she's kind of standing like a guy.
Yeah. And then Lando goes, "Turn around." So then they all turn around, and then she cuts through the fence, and they all walk through, and then there's the
landing gear,
the boot
on the landing gear, and Beckett takes 5% for him right off the bat. Yeah, I can get it off, but it's going to cost you 5%.
Yeah, and that's when he uses his line.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't accept it. But
No. I don't like it. I don't agree with it, but I accept
it. You're catching on, Lando. You know, Beckett. You're getting the hang of this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was. I don't know. It was funny, to be sure. Okay, so they get the boot off, and we're off on our way to Kessel. What I did like how Lando worked with L3, and L3 is actually his co-pilot for the ship, and also has a apparently we find out she has a vast
the biggest Nava computer that ever compiled.
She has a vast system. That's why she's never had her mind wiped, because she has all this data, and that she interfaces with the Falcon computer. So this isn't like what we see in A New Hope, where Han's going to the Falcon itself for the coordinates. She's the coordinates, and she hooks herself into the Falcon and gives the coordinates to the Falcon, and kind of gives herself a nice little slap on the head.
Right,
she does it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of an interesting point to me. We'll get into a little bit more of that later. But I did like the whole how they gave themselves right before they go in the light speed, they did the cool little wave, and then off in the light speed they went, which I thought was neat. We're introduced to the whole Kessel Run, the Maul, which is the black hole, the Maelstrom, which is the gas cloud that's surrounding it. So that whole scene that you've seen in the trailers, that's what that is. We learned a little bit more about that. We were introduced to the cloakroom, which I thought was pretty cool.
Basically just Lando's walk-in closet.
Yeah. And in there is Kira, and she's trying on not just any cape, but she's wearing the blue cape, which I'm pretty sure is the same one that he wears in Empire Strikes Back on Cloud City. And it's also doubles as a make-out room for Han and Kira before they're interrupted by Beckett. So, we've got that going on. And then the other thing I liked was Chewie losing to Beckett on the hologram chess set that is Dejarik.
He's being taught how to play. And Chewie knows whatever game Chewie knows how to play is similar enough to this game that he's making moves for the other one. And he said, no, you don't want to do that. You want to hit this thing. And he goes, you're going to make that move? Fine, make that move. And he makes the move, and then he makes his and wins or whatever. And then Chewie tries to take all the pieces off the game.
Right.
And he's like, you can't do that. It's a hologram.
It's hilarious. You know what's also it's funny. That's the same move R2 uses against him in A New Hope. Takes it up and slams the thing down. Like great little throwback there. So we finally get to Kessel. They used Han and Chewie kind of as slaves. I love what they did with Beckett. They put Beckett in that same garb that Lando uses in Return of the Jedi. The mask. Because
his garb is in his cloakroom.
Yes.
So it's his disguise gear or whatever.
Right.
So he gets to use it in this one.
Right. So it's the, I think I put it in the notes. Yes, the Mask of Gondar outfit, or that's the mask that you see Lando pull down in Return of the Jedi. Same get up. Great little throwback for the fans. I loved it. I thought it was a great use of it.
Right. Now, one thing, I don't know if you put this in the notes or not. When they're when they're getting walked in, and he says your slaves can go with those guys, and you'll come with me with your tool. He's talking about Beckett, and so they go their way, and then Han and Chewie are in the elevator, getting ready, taken down into
the mines.
To the mines.
Yeah.
And while they're in there, Chewie rips off the arms of the one guy.
Forgot about that.
And then Solo says, "Oh, great. The one outfit that I would have fit perfectly in."
Yeah, he ripped the arms off.
You ripped the arms off. And then and Chewie's holding both arms and goes, and that goes back into
you don't want to ever upset a Wookiee.
Because he'll rip your arms off.
Yeah, exactly. Great throwback. Another great little piece of humor, a little bit of fun. And again, that's what this movie is. It's just fun, guys. The whole thing is just fun.
Now, was that needed? No.
No, but it was fun.
Funny.
It was fun.
Yep.
Okay. So they got Kira's playing like a high dignitary. She's obviously gotten into Lando's wardrobe as well. She's wearing a high society looking. She's got the cape kicking, whole 9 yards. She's there to supposedly to negotiate for more spice from the Pikes.
Yeah,
this is the first time we see the Pikes in an actual movie.
I'm the so and so from the ambassador of so and so.
I can't remember.
And I wonder if I wonder if that's just somebody that they deal with on a regular basis, so she knows who it was.
Yeah,
because she rattles it off pretty easily.
Vice Admiral or something like that.
So and she plays that high dignitary, and they say, oh, well, your translation droid can come in into this room, but your tool needs to stay out there. And she goes, back up, tool. Blah blah blah. And Becca's like, oh crap, because I don't know if he had no idea that she knew Tara Casal, or
I don't think he did. I think he was more worried for her because she was by herself.
But it was really funny because as soon as that door closed,
and the way they cut to it, and
all you have is this little window
to look through,
and you could see, and all of a sudden you see the cape fly over, and you see the droid, like the L3 in the background, and she's like hands up, and she's like, whoa. How did you do that? Like,
I've never seen anybody do that that before.
Yeah,
she did some kung fu shit.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
It was pretty funny, actually. And it was a great way to give her badass abilities without Amelia Clark having to do all the stunt work.
Right. It was another one of those, like, not showing us the aliens on Minbin. They're not showing us Tara Casal from Emily Clark.
Yeah, but it was cool. It was pretty cool. It still shows she's a badass. And again, it's the same thing that Darth Maul uses.
Yep.
Huh. There's another reference. Darth Maul. And then, of course, L3 starts her droid rebellion.
Well,
mistakenly.
Well, yeah, I was like, it's not that she starts that.
She takes the restraining bolt off the one bot.
Right, because she wants to get into the computer, and it's at the station that she needs.
Yeah.
And she pulls off the restraining bolt and pulls it away, and she plugs in. And while she's plugged in, the other robot says, well, what am I supposed to do now?
Yeah.
And she goes,
I don't know, go free your compadres.
Yeah, go free your compadres. Yeah. And then you see that bot going off and taking off the restraining bolts of other ones.
Yeah.
And then
it turns into a full-on
revolution for these robots. And that's when we pan into Lando.
Yeah.
Lando on the ship, on
doing
the Falcon.
His chronicles.
Doing his Lando Chronicles. He's doing a podcast. And he goes, and that's when I blah, blah, blah.
Me and L3 in the Temple of
we were deep inside the blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, you can see he's looking out the window of the Millennium Falcon, and all these people are coming out, and droids are coming out, and he's like,
What that droid do now?
What did that droid do now? And then he's like, L3, what did you do? I started a revolution.
I found my calling.
I'm
so glad we took this job. It was a little funny.
She had funny lines, but it was that early on stuff where she just
really took you out of it. Yeah, yeah, I agree. Then Chewie goes off and he starts to free some deformed, missing link-looking Wookiees.
Yeah, because when they're walking through,
that was a little strange.
Because when they were going through looking for the coaxium, the unrefined coaxium, in a different tunnel, he hears first, and then we pan over, and then you see Wookiees being like zapped.
Yeah, tortured,
and he's like, "I'm gonna go save them."
Yeah,
and then Han's like, "No, don't go away from the plan," and he leaves anyway. And he's like, "Crap."
Well, Han eventually goes, "Okay."
Yeah. So he goes. Chewie goes over to save him, and then we go over there to save him, and they look like the missing link.
Yeah, the face does not look anything like a Wookiee.
They're very ape-like.
They're very missing link.
And you know what's funny? I think the only reason why I feel that way about looking at them because they're malnourished, and they're underground.
I guess
so. But what I think threw it for me is that internet meme that says this is what Chewbacca looks without hair.
Oh.
And it looks like a almost cat-esque.
Yeah, almost.
And I think that's why it threw me off when I'm looking at that. I'm like, they look like the missing link.
They're missing very, link Wookiees.
They're very ape-like. That doesn't look like a Wookiee at all.
No. In fact, even when you go back to Episode 3 and they've got other Wookiees, they look like Chewbacca.
Yes.
Yeah, they're just different versions. Yeah, here they look like they got right out of I forget that movie with the missing link. Anyway, like they just got out of a cube of ice.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So I was a little disappointed with the makeup there, and I don't know what they were going for or why, but they did. Anyway, so eventually L3 gets in the middle of her revolution, leading her bots, gets her basically blown in half.
Well, it's when she gets right back out to the center, and she's almost to the Millennium Falcon, and she's like, almost like, Viva la Revolution, you know what I mean? And like all of a sudden, and you can tell it's coming by the way they almost slowed down the movie, and she's like, Viva la Revolution, and all of a sudden it's later shot right in her center, and she's like, oh, and then she gets hit like 2 or 3 times on the way down.
Yeah.
Which is odd that anybody would be shooting at the droid.
Right. But nevertheless, it happens.
And then Lando sees her.
You see the emotional response from Lando, and I'm just like, oh god. I could not get past. If they hadn't done the bit before, I've been okay with it.
Yeah.
Lando going after her.
Because it'd be the same way with like Luke or Han
R2 saving
with R2 or C3PO.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, no, and they run after him.
Right. They go save him.
But this was it was cross the line, because even the next scene
where she's holding him in her arms,
and he's just like crying, no, and she's like, something's wrong, and blah, like
Lando.
Yeah, like it's just like
Yeah, I was like, okay, I'm not feeling very comfortable with this. So what's the next scene?
yeah.
Quickly, and then of course we get Han saving Lando, being the good guy again. Goes out and gets his buddy,
right?
Which finally begins pretty much the Kessel Run, because with Lando's out of commission because he gets shot in the arm, and L3 is obviously out of commission, so that leaves no pilots. So Han kind of runs in. Beckett's like, get up there, and he gets Lando to give him the little blessing nod.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And I love this scene because this is the first time you see Han. I got a little nostalgic feeling. I got this goosebumps because you see Han jump in there. He's flipping the switches. He's excited. He's firing up, and then you see the engine of the Falcon take up, and he takes off from the Falcon.
Right, but he also says, he's like, I don't have a co-pilot, and then Kyrus jumps in.
Right.
And then he's like, we need to whatever, blah 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 blah.
During the run, yeah.
And she goes, we sure do.
Yeah.
And then she looks at the things, you don't know what she's doing.
Chewbacca's in the back.
And then Chewbacca's like, yeah, whatever. And then he starts flipping switches.
Deflector shields to forward.
And he's like, Han looks at him. He's like, since when do you know how to fly?
190 years old.
You look great. and then Kira says
instinctively,
get in here, Chewie.
Yeah.
And then he jumps in, and then
all the first time,
and all of a sudden, and then the music even hits. The music even hits, and it's like, ooh,
yeah. That's where you get the bumps again.
Yeah,
yes.
Ooh.
That's the feels. That's the Star Wars feels that I love so much. So they start the Kessel Run. Let's see. We're jumping ahead here a little bit.
We're fine.
Then when L3 does die, they get this great idea to take her Nava computer, which she has all this data in, and merge it with the Falcon, upload her into the Falcon, essentially, which they end up doing, which is great because, and then they say she's now part of the ship, so it now ties into C-3PO and then Empire Strikes Back going, I don't know where your computer learned how to talk. It has the strangest dialect. So he's talking to L3 the whole damn time.
Right.
Because she's now part of the ship. She's the Falcon, which is hilarious. It's the most peculiar dialect. Which is a great tie-in. I loved it. Then, of course, the Empire shows up, and that's when you get that iconic shot of the Star Destroyer coming through the maelstrom.
Right, yeah. It's like it's plugging the hole, and it's like not letting let anything out.
And I love the music cue. The music cue is the same as the Death Star from A New Hope, that da-da-da-da, and there they are all of a sudden. And you get the whole, they start chasing them with the TIE fighters and stuff. And
right before that, he was like, we don't have anything to worry about. I flew with them. They're not going to send TIE fighters in here to get us.
Get a cargo ship.
And then all of a sudden, 4 of them drop out and come out. And he's like, or not.
Then you see the Falcon do the turnaround.
Yeah,
and that's when the real chase begins. And again, I love the chases on. Han decides to take that shortcut. He basically nobody's done this before.
Well, yeah, because there's an open draft or whatever it is that causes the gas to be vacant from those spots.
Right,
like tunnels.
And he actually goes into the cloud.
He goes into the gas cloud.
To get away from the TIE fighters. Yeah. And that's when they get the chase music kicks back in. There's some awesome music in here. They mix in Here They Come, which is the it's the
that's the opening for our podcast.
Well, the opening song for the podcast. Here They Come, and then they also mix in the asteroid field from Empire Strikes Back when they're going through the asteroids. It's the same thing because he's dodging stuff. So you're anyway, but I'm doing a huge disjustice.
It's fantastic.
John Williams should shoot me right now. It's just awesome music, and you really get the Star Wars feels. They are playing on nostalgia, and I love every second of it. I can't, but it's also a really great action scene too. They put Beckett on the single gun turret because it's just a single gun at this point. It's not the 4. And he's up there shooting at the TIE fighter, so you get that whole callback to A New Hope. And again, he's dodging asteroids and debris, and you get that again. He's going through the asteroids and stuff. And there's every once in a while, there's even a little bit of the main Star Wars theme going on too, especially with Han and Chewie in the cockpit and stuff like that. But yeah, and then they get chased by this giant space octopus.
Yeah, I guess we'll call it that.
I guess I don't know what else to call it.
And it's
not a squale, that's for sure.
No, it's definitely not a squale. And it probably has, I would say, what it felt like it was like 20 eyes.
Yes.
It felt like it had 20 eyes because they almost run into it because it was dark and they didn't have any lights on at the time because the ship had went dark because it got hit by lightning or whatever it was.
Right.
And they get the power back on. Right as they get the power back on, they're like within inches of the eyeball, and the eyeball opens, and you see all the eyeballs as they pan away, and they're getting chased by it.
The tentacles.
Yeah. It was pretty. I thought it was pretty good.
I thought it was awesome. That is sci-fi fantasy right there. That's Star Wars. You get an alien creature. This is the Rancor of the the movie or whatever. It's just an extra threat thrown in there to make it cool.
Yeah, I thought it was good. And seeing it in the trailer, I was like, I don't know about this. Like tentacles, what the heck is going on? Like, why do we need this? Doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And then you see it in the movie, and it fits.
Yeah, it just adds that 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea kind of feel.
Oh, very much so.
To it, I guess. It just adds an extra layer to it. And then he ejects the Falcon escape pod. So for the first time, the Falcon goes from a peak to looking more like the Falcon we know with the fork in it, and that we did find out that's a special modification Lando did to the ship, too, by the way. But yeah, it starts through this whole process. The Falcon, the nice, clean Falcon, starts to look more like the Falcon we all know and love.
Right. The worn down,
because he's using the Falcon to hit a TIE fighter, take a TIE fighter out. He's going through all this debris. It's getting hit. It's getting damaged.
Yep.
He's taking all this damage on while Han's flying it.
We did see it lose the dish.
The dish, which was around laying down flat. That goes away.
Yeah, we did see him lose the dish when he got hit by the tentacle as the creature was getting pulled into the...
Yep. So yeah, it was Han at his best, doing his best. Chewie and them doing their magical flying. It was just an amazing action sequence, and it just got better.
It kept going, and we saw the how Han always manages to make a choice that looks like it's going to fail, but all of a sudden doesn't fail. It works. And it was the same thing with this, and it was like, we do have the unrefined coaxium, put it into the fuel stream, and it's like, oh, it could blow us up, and okay, well, they did it, and then basically shut down what they thought. They shut down the whole thing.
Well, yeah, it took them out. It took off, and then all of a sudden it did you hear that classic sound effect from Empire Strikes Back of the...
Yeah, like where it powers back down.
Yeah.
And then it started falling backwards into the mall, and it gets all the way in,
and then it kicks back.
And then it kicks in, it goes boom, and shoots off, and you're like
a shooting star.
Yeah, and you're like, yes.
And then you see Han do the classic, and he tried to do it with the speeder in the beginning and he failed
because he said it.
Yeah.
And he goes, remember what we did on Corellia?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it didn't work. It's gonna work this time.
Here's the faith, and he does the classic iconic
says, punch it, Chewie,
and you get the iconic thing like you do in Empire. Same move, through the teeth, everything. It's a lot of throwback, a lot of nostalgia, a lot of action. It happens really quickly. I loved every second of this whole.
And then we go from all that action to like the tower on the planet. And you hear
the refinery.
A brief radio thing, and it's like it's faded, but then it gets really crisp, real fast, and it's like, "This is Han Solo. We're coming real fast!" And like all of a sudden, there's like a Top Gun flyby moment, and it goes, "Whoo!" and it flies in and lands,
and it dies as soon as it lands. It literally just shuts down.
It dies. One of the landing gear falls apart, and it kind of goes sideways, and then they get all the stuff out, connect the hoses, and
hurry up.
Yeah,
it was great.
And then we get the I can't believe we did that in 12 parsecs. And Chewie's like, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I rounded down.
Round down, buddy. Round down.
Yeah, if we round down, it does.
I like when he says it, too. I just did the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares at all. He's the only one.
Yeah.
And then Chewie's like, well, if you round down, pal. Round down.
Yeah. That was good.
So we're now on this is the planet of Savareen.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of what we're talking about in the non-spoiler section. We go from all that action pack, and it really slows us down at the end. It's kind of like a really drawn-out conclusion to the movie.
Conclusion / setup for the next movie.
For the next movie. I didn't have a problem with it, but it does kind of feel like it kind of drags on a little bit, because you do go from this humongous, Kessel Run scene to this much more methodical, laid out kind of.
Oh yeah, there's much more backstory involvement here
going on here. And by the time, also, when the Falcon does land, it looks like the Falcon that we know. By that point, it's all
correct.
The panels are off, just like you see, and everything's exposed, and it's gone from this nice, shiny blue and white ship to the fastest hunk of junk in the galaxy, because it's been through all this shit,
right?
With Han. So they get the coaxium to the critical mass coaxium to the refinery, and while it's being refined, you get this Han and Kira moment, and there's a great line from her, and it was even in the trailer, and she goes, he's going on and on about how he's a scoundrel and how he's not this good person. She goes, I may be the only person that knows who you truly are. He goes, and that's when you get that smile, and he's like, what? You're the good guy. And he's like, no, I'm not the good guy.
Right, and it's funny, because in the trailer, we assume that she meant the scoundrel.
Right, exactly.
And here,
it's the good guy.
The good guy.
It really is, and that's what he is. He's the scoundrel with the big heart, and that's she calls him out on it. And then you get I think this might have actually happened before the Kira scene. They get the Han and Lando scene, and he's got his arm around Lando, and he's like, it's great,
Yeah, he's like, once you have my share, you bring it to me.
Bring it to me.
Otherwise, I don't want to
be on my ship.
I'll be on my ship. I don't want to talk to you.
I never want to see you again, because he's pissed off about what's happened to his L3 and then his ship.
Yep.
His beautiful ship.
Yeah, and he's like, you don't ever want to see me again?
He just puts up his finger.
Yep.
Well, I'm out. And then, of course, Enfys Nest shows back up.
Because she had a tracker.
She had a tracker on the whole time. And turns out that she's actually a rebellion leader against Crimson Dawn.
Right, like the whole group that we thought was pirates and everybody else is actually a rebellion, and they're all individual alien species whose planets were affected by Crimson Dawn.
So they're kind of like a rebellion against Crimson Dawn.
But we don't find that out right away.
No, because there's a big showdown scene.
There's a big showdown scene that we've seen in the thing where it's like you expect the tumbleweed to go by, and you see him click his holster.
Yep, and I love the line. He's like, all I have to do is snap my fingers, and 30 guys are going to come off my ship. 30 mercenaries. All I got to do is snap, and as soon as he says that, Lando abandons him. You see the Falcon take off, and it's gone. And I think even you pointed out, he goes up all macho like John Wayne, and then he backtracks all macho.
The exact same way, and he's like, okay, never mind.
You can go ahead and do your thing.
Yeah, go ahead and do your thing. Yeah, because Beckett at first was like, no, I got, don't.
Yeah. And then that's when the reveal is that she's actually part of the rebellion. Then Han goes to Beckett and tries to talk Beckett into, giving them the coaxium. He's like, I'm out of here, kid.
Yeah, here's the plan.
Yeah.
No.
Nope, too risky. Never going to work. Then they take the coaxium to Voss, and Voss is like, let me see it. Take it out. I want to see it.
Well, he's basically congratulating him and everything else. Yeah, good job. That's awesome.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
And he's like, so show it to me.
Yeah.
And he's like,
I very much want you to.
Yeah. And he's like, show it to you? And he's like, yes, I really want to see it. And he's like, but it's kind of unstable. No. I don't ask twice, hon.
Yeah, I never ask twice. And he looks at it, he goes, I don't know how you did it. How'd you make it look so well?
Well, yeah. He says, I have to know how you did it.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, it was we fought our way and blah blah blah. And he's like, no. I want to know how you made it look so real. Because it's obviously fake. So what do you mean? Yeah. Well, you were tipped off, and the camera pans to Kira, and we're like, oh, she turned on Han.
No.
But it was
Beckett that comes out.
Yep.
Yeah, I actually thought for a brief second, about this much, I thought maybe it could have been Lando too, but it wasn't. Because he wouldn't have known about the plan anyway. But yeah, so it turns out to be Beckett, and then Han turns the tables on him and goes, well, I know how you are too. And
because he goes, you never listen, kid. I told you how many times not to trust anybody.
Right, yeah.
Especially me.
Yep.
And he goes, you never listen. And then Han says, "Oh,
I was listening.
but I was listening, and you're very predictable."
Yeah. And he's like, this really is the coaxium.
And he goes, "But if that's the coaxium," and then it pans to back to the refinery, and all of Dryden's mercenaries had surrounded it.
Yeah.
And who they thought was
Enfys
Nest and the crew
was not.
But it was all the people there without the tongues.
With the refineries, yeah.
And so they get all taken, and he's like, and Han's like, "Oh, I sure hope that wasn't all your mercenaries, because otherwise, you don't really have anybody up here." And he goes, and then that's when Beckett is like,
"I'll take this opportunity."
He shoots both the guards that were there.
Yep.
And he's the only one with the gun. He's like, "I prefer to be the only one with the gun."
Yeah, and Voss is like, "You don't want to do this." I think I do.
Yeah, I think I do. It was good.
Yeah, it was great. And then he leaves, and then there's a great little fight scene between. So it's Kira and Han versus Voss. When he pulls out electrified cadaver, or not cadavers, I guess.
Almost like
daggers,
yeah.
battle.
Double-sided daggers. Because you hold them in the center, and each side has a blade.
And they're curved.
Yeah, it looks like a old Chinese fighting weapon.
And then but it's electrified. It's got the Star Wars.
Oh, it's got the lightsaber parts on it.
Yeah, the lightsaber fields. And it was a pretty good fight between her and Han, and then she ends up killing him with his own like decorative sword or whatever he had.
Well, yeah, because what happens is
I almost wanted Han to kill him, though.
Yeah,
because he's the hero of the.
Yeah, but she knew
his tactics.
Yeah. And she's like, everyone has a weakness. She goes, "I'm really sorry," like to Han, she's gonna.
And
kill she goes, him. but today I'm your weakness. And then she turns around and she starts fighting him.
Yeah.
And when he takes his lightsaber dagger or whatever, and he starts going down the center of the sword. And she twists it just enough to pull it out of his hand, and then takes it and swings it right into him like an axe.
Yeah.
And then he's dead.
And that's when you see, again, you pointed this out to me, and you're right. His eyes are red, his claw marks
his
or whatever.
His pupils are red and everything else.
Yeah, and then he goes gray after he's dead.
He goes completely gray.
Yeah. And
there's no blood anywhere.
Whatsoever. Which is interesting.
Obviously, that's got to be like an alien thing. It's not a Disney thing to keep a low rating.
What species is he, though? Because he's not human.
Yeah, but they didn't explain that.
And it makes you wonder if I just thought they were scars, and maybe they still are, but maybe it's part of his species.
I think it's part of his species.
Whatever he is.
Mm-hmm. I think it's part of his species.
Yeah. So it was interesting to see. So Kira says, "I'll be right behind you," sends Han on his way.
Mm-hmm.
She's
because he's going after Beckett with Chewie, who had the coaxium.
Yeah, go save Chewie. He needs your help, And she said, "I'll be right behind you. I'm going to get this jewelry so we can build our life together." Blah blah blah. And
then she walks right past it.
Yeah, walks right past it.
Over to Voss.
Takes his ring, uses it, puts it in this machine, and suddenly there's a dark figure on a hologram.
What other characters have we seen in holograms?
Holograms with hoods.
Yeah.
Over top.
Well, it wasn't even that, because it panned across at the bottom. And as soon as it panned across the bottom
had mechanical legs.
Yeah. And you only know that if you've watched Clone Wars / Rebels.
Yeah.
So you only know who it is.
Darth Maul. Darth Maul is back. And it makes sense. People are like, how is this possible? Number one, if you want to know how he comes back, go watch the Clone Wars, because he gets resurrected in the Clone Wars. If you want to know what ultimately happens to him, watch Rebels, because he ends up getting killed again, finally, for good, in Rebels. I won't tell you either. Go watch both series, because you'll find out how he comes back and how he gets to the point that you see him in Solo, because Clone Wars is before Solo, Rebels is after Solo. So Solo's right in the middle between these two cartoon series. So you'll find out how he comes back, and you'll find out what ultimately happens to him if you watch both cartoon series. So if you're confused and you want to know how the hell it happened, watch both series. Start with the Clone Wars, and then go to Rebels if you want. But you definitely will enjoy the story. I guarantee you that.
And it's the same guy who played him in the prequels.
His voice.
No.
Well, yeah, the same guy. It's Ray Park.
Ray Park
physically.
Yeah, and then the same guy that voices him in Rebels.
Yes, which is Sam Witwer.
Yeah,
it does the voice.
And it was very cool. And we made it almost all the way through this movie, and it was like, oh, we're gonna get a Star Wars movie without a lightsaber.
And he lights up his double.
And then he lights up his double-bladed red
And
lightsaber.
and it's the same double-bladed lightsaber he ends up with in Rebels, because you see he has it when you get to the Rebels series. So it's all connected. This proves that what they've been saying all along, which is the movies, plus the Clone Wars, plus Rebels, plus all the comic books that aren't labeled Legends are all canon. It's all one big giant story, folks.
It's pretty cool.
And they interconnect it all right here by bringing Maul back. Now, Maul is obviously the head of the Crimson Dawn Syndicate. He's the big bad behind Voss. And he basically tells Kira, he said, he doesn't believe that Beckett could have killed Voss alone. And he's going to find out who his
I think there was other accomplices, and we'll figure out how to deal with them.
Yep, and he's like, you're going to be working. You and I are going to be working very closely together.
Yep,
and commands her to go to Dathomir, which is a big thing from both Clone Wars and Rebels, might I add. So again, they're tying it all together. It's all one big giant story.
It's cool.
And again, go watch Clone Wars if you want to find out how he came back, because yes, he was technically cut in half at the end of Episode 1, Phantom Menace. And if you want to know how he comes back, watch the Clone Wars series. If you want to know what ultimately happens to him, watch Rebels. That's all I'm going to say. But it's one big giant story, and it's all connected here, and it will make sense, I promise, in the whole storyline, if you're confused.
Yeah, and while going back to while she was walking through the Voss's chamber there, you can tell he's a collector of artifacts.
Yeah.
And he has, you were talking about he had a Sith table.
He did.
And he has...
there's a rumor anyway.
That he has a crystal skull, which a lot of fans originally thought was a nod to Indiana Jones and the crystal skull.
Yeah.
But it was actually a crystal skull from Solo's book, The Lost Legacy.
The Lost Legacy, yeah.
I think what it's called.
It's a nod to it. Yeah.
And then other people, as they're panning through things, you can see a Sith holocron.
Apparently, yeah, I've yet to see it.
There's Mandalorian gear.
There is a Mandalorian, full red Mandalorian armor in his office.
Yeah. And there's a couple other things in there. I mean, it's pretty neat that you would have all those kind of like just artifacts kind of sitting around, so you can tell he's a collector.
Oh yeah, definitely. In fact, just to go, if you really want to dive deep for a second with me, and I'll go into it. Supposedly the rumor is online is that the table that all these things are sitting on is a table from Exarch Kun, his Sith temple. And supposedly it has Sith incantations on it that are for protection because it comes from his temple. Blah, blah, blah. So a lot of... And if that's true, then they've just made this guy, this Legends character, this Sith Lord, this ancient Sith Lord, canon. So all of a sudden he's real.
Right.
Which is a big deal because they threw out... We all know what happened with the EU. They set it aside and said, no, going forward, everything will be canon.
Right.
The movies, Clone Wars, Rebels, and everything that we're going to release going forward will be canon. So now this is a big deal to bring another EU character back into the fold, if that is indeed true. So lots of Easter eggs, lots of tie-ins, lots of things going on here that maybe you caught, maybe you didn't catch, and maybe you go back and watch again. If you've already seen Solo, which I'm assuming you have, if you're watching us, go back and watch it and see if you can find these Easter eggs yourself. Especially if you find the Sith holocron. Tell me exactly where it's at on the table, because I've looked for it the 2 times I've seen it, and I have not seen it on the table yet. But the Sith holocron is obviously a pyramid looking thing. So there you go.
So we pan right from that scene, where we're like, oh my gosh,
it's Darth Maul.
It's Darth Maul, and then we pan over to a scene where we see Beckett and Chewie walking up the sand dune, basically like they're going to either a vehicle or they're going to a city or something.
Essentially, he's using Chewie as a slave to move the coaxium.
Oh yeah, because he's strong enough to carry it.
Right.
And as they come up over the hill, you have Han there with his gun out, ready, just like, sorry, I would have been here faster, Chewie, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And then Beckett realizes, he goes, Voss is dead?
Yep.
He goes, yep. He goes, I forgot what he said.
Well, he's about to do a spiel. He's in the middle of one, actually, and he's going on and on.
Well, yeah, and he's talking, and he's like, well, I'm going to teach you my last lesson, kid.
He's got his hand on his holster.
And he goes, and right as he gets ready to pull it,
he gets shot.
He gets shot, and he falls over, and he goes,
And he panned to Han, and
he goes,
shot.
Yeah, and he goes, oh,
Han shot first.
You were paying attention.
Yeah.
He goes, "Good job, kid."
I would have killed you that
yeah,
time.
I would have killed you that time. You know, it was just one of those like, oh, Han does shoot first.
Huh, look at that. Nice job, Castins, on the writing. Enjoyed that scene tremendously. Nice nod. Nice back to the original Star Wars.
Right, until the special edition Solo comes out, and then Beckett will shoot, and then Han will shoot.
Delete. Bad memories. So, yeah, great scene, though. Especially at the end. I actually thought the movie was going to kind of end there. It doesn't, but I actually did. So they go back and they get one vial of from Enfys Nest gives them the one vial of the coaxium, and then they go from that planet to another planet, which they don't say what it is, but it's like a tropical planet.
Right.
And there's good old Lando. He's in a new cape, new suit, and he's hanging out, drinking, playing sabacc again.
Mm-hmm.
And Chewie and Han come up, and he goes up to him, and he's like, "Han, Chewie, great to see you, blah, blah, blah." And Han's like, "You left us. We could have died.
Yeah, I should have Chewie rip your arms off
right now." And he suddenly does the whole Han thing from Empire Strikes Back. He puts up his hands, and then Han sees his cheat cards.
And he's like, "Oh, buddy, I'm just joking with you."
Just joking, man. Yeah, it's all right. Everything's
He's
cool.
like, "You actually thought I was being serious."
Yeah, and the whole time, he's removed his cheat cards, and he doesn't know it. And he uses his coaxium as a buy-in. And the next scene is the final hand, and Han does the whole all-in again with him. And he goes, "You must really want the Falcon." He's like, "Yeah, that ship wants me.
It's kind of meant to be."
Meant to be. And you see Lando go to reach for his cheat card, and suddenly he realizes it's not there.
Yeah, he reaches over, and he's like reaching under the table, and it's not there. He looks down and sees it's not there.
Yeah.
And he goes,
Han's just smiling.
He gets a big smile on his face. He's like, "Wow, you really could have beat me if you had this card in your hand." And he plays his hand.
Yep.
And he sees he wins, and that's not, and that's the whole, he won fair and square.
Fun, fair and square, pal. Won her fair and square. So he wins it, and then the last scene is they're flying off the planet, wherever they're at, and with the Falcon.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Yeah, let's go to," because Beckett tells him about Tatooine and the big gangster job back on Sabine.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Yep, we're going to go there. There's a big gangster job, big gangster."
A big job for a gangster, the Beckett told me about.
They don't say the gangster is, mind you.
Right, but it's on Tatooine, so we just assume it's Jabba.
Doesn't have to be, but it could be. And Chewie says something to him. He goes, "When have I ever steered you wrong?"
And Chewie kind of gives him a look like, "Really?"
And that's where it ends. But it's a great movie. From beginning to end, from start to finish. I loved all those scenes.
What about the extra credit scenes?
There are none.
Oh, I know.
Spoiler
I want to make sure we tell everybody there was no extra credit scenes.
Don't stick around.
Don't stick around. Don't be one of those people.
Yeah, because
there were quite a few of them that were stuck around to see if there was anything in the credits.
There was actually a guy, when I went and saw it the second time, the guy that comes in to clean up, he goes, "There's no after credit scenes, folks." Because he's like, "We got to clean up for the next show."
Right, yeah.
So, but yeah, overall, final thoughts on Solo, Brian? What do you give final? Let's just give it a B or C, D.
No, I'd definitely give it an A.
Okay.
I mean, like I told you, I said, just going back, I didn't have a Luke toy.
Yeah, you had the Han.
I had Han. I had Chewie.
Mm-hmm.
And just of course I had the X-wing too. So it was like
put Han in the X-wing.
I put Han in the X-wing, but
not exactly canon.
Yeah, but anyway, it was one of those things, and just being able to see him on the screen that way, and going through those kind of adventures, if you will, of Han Solo. It was very refreshing going from what we've seen in like the other ones where they've been more. I would guess they're more.
They've been heavy.
They've been very heavy. They've been more focused around stuff that's actually happening in today's society.
Mm-hmm.
They made those very aspects very vocal, as opposed to like when we watch the original trilogy and you're like you have those happy moments and everything else.
Right.
This had that feel of those happy moments, and you're like,
escapism.
Yes. This is what I wanted to see. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I definitely give it an A.
Yeah, I give it an A as well. It's a fun Star Wars movie. I can't say that enough. You actually get to go to a galaxy far, far away, and you get to have fun. You get to have adventure. You get to have excitement. It brings that back. Yes, there's no Force in this film. There's no Jedi in this film. There's one former Sith Lord in this film. One igniting of a double-bladed lightsaber. But other than that, it is a Force-free film. For the most, there's nothing else in it. And even with that missing, it is still a fun Star Wars film. You get to go to Star Wars Land. You get to disappear for 2.5 hours, and you get to have fun doing it. And they throw some great comedy, some great action at you. It's a fun movie. It's a great movie to go see. If you're a Star Wars fan, and especially an original trilogy Star Wars fan, you're going to love it. It's just that simple. And if you're boycotting it, for God's sakes, go see it. You're doing yourself a huge, huge, huge injustice. Please, go see the movie. All right, well, Brian, thanks for joining us. My friend. Oh, social media. I always forget social media.
Tell you what.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying. All right. So where can you find 4 Midwest Guys? Well, the best place to go is www.4midwestguys.com. There you'll find links to our Twitter, to our Facebook, to all of our social media is out there. It's all in one-stop shop. Our YouTube page as well. If you're on Twitter if you're on Twitter, you can follow us at 4midwestguys.com. If you're on Stardust/Twitter, you can find me at bwilly1977. Brian, where can they find you?
They can find me at AngZone.
And we also have a Instagram account, Brian.
Yeah, at @the_real_Ank.
And that's just kind of behind the scenes stuff that we do here at the podcast and things like that. So it's all, but the best place again is the number 4 midwestguys.com. All the podcasts are listed there chronologically, or you can go category wise from links at the top as well. So with that in mind, we want to thank you for joining us. And Brian, thanks for joining us as always.
Thanks for having me, man.
And this is B. Willie saying, may the force be with you always.